This is Resonance, a podcast for leaders that unpacks the power of song, silence, and strategy.
We believe that great leadership begins with deep listening, not just to others, but to the still small voice within.
It's not just about being a successful leader, it's about being soulfully aligned as well.
In a world moving fast, Resonance invites you to pause and reconnect with purpose, people, and possibility.
We'll dive into some cool stories, celebrate with friends, and dig deep into the music too. 'Cause song has a way of saying what words cannot alone.
So whether you're leading a business, a team, or just trying to lead your own life with more meaning, this is Resonance.
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 Greetings, friends, and welcome to the Resonance podcast. Delighted to be here today. I've got Mike Farrell, the monk guy, sitting in, and Steve Azar is ready to rock today. He's in a mood. I can tell you right now, he's in a mood. He's fired up. Yeah, he's happy to be here. So, and I am too. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about songwriting. We're going to be talking about this idea of the different parts of a song. What's the hook to a song? How, you get that thing, you hear that one time, and then, oh God, I can't get it out of my head. And then the bridge, how does that work? And the chorus, and how does that work? So we're going to be talking about the structure of the song. But guess what? If you know Resonance at all, we're going to be talking about structure of a song. We're also going to be talking about structure of your business and of your life in this process. That's the way we roll at Resonance. But I'm going to tell you right now, Mike and I don't know jack about writing songs. So we're going to go ahead and pitch it right on over to you, Professor Steve Azar. Speak to us of brilliance in songwriting.
Until you both know what a good song sounds like and feels like, though.
That's true.
You guys already have most of it whipped. I think that if you look back to my first songs, I make the joke about it, but it was true. They were really long. Also, they weren't thought out, and there was some magic in the not thinking it out that was just relying on my instincts that turned out to be things that would serve me well later in life, actual lines and lyrics that would work, but most of them didn't. As I got older, I understood structure, but I never understood why. I didn't understand the 3.5-minute song and why, and that became because of commercial radio, right? Randy, we talk about your love for Fish and the Grateful Dead and Widespread Panic, the jam bands. And I know that we talked beforehand about how people that aren't into jam bands are trying to go, why are you playing a song for 22 minutes? And is there any structure? There's a lot of structure there to be a great jam band. In the art of mainstream radio, which is what so many have gotten into. Also, when you get on playlists, you still have to pay attention to time, because playlisters who are getting paid to playlist, Spotify or Apple or wherever it is, Stitcher, Google Play, they want to be able to put as many songs in there as well, because they're getting paid as well. So, there's still a box that they want to fill. And if they go outside the lines of the box, that's costing them money rather than the artist. And so it's still a business model going. So first of all, time. How long should a song be? So in your mind, keep it under 4 minutes. 3 minutes to 4 is great. 3.5 is awesome. Second of all, how fast can you get to the chorus? A lot of people, when it comes to commercial songs, are waiting for what's going to hook me. And there's your hook, right?
The chorus is the hook. So Tom Petty, I heard an interview with the Tom Petty band after he passed. And apparently the phrase they used for that was, don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Yeah, there you go. And that, by the way, is an off rhyme that works. And you're thinking of rhyming and all that. A lot of times as a songwriter, you've got to eliminate the idea of rhyme, and you got to go, what would you really say? And then you find the rhyme. And even in the beginning stages, you're taught to go, well, I say beginning stages. I was not. Beginning stages for me, doing it the hard way and not having YouTube or anybody else to teach me, living in Greenville, Mississippi, except for being around great blues acts who let me hang around, but they let me hang around, but they didn't tell me how to write a song. They expected me to absorb what they were doing. And blues guys are equally as wild with it as jam bands are at times.
Oh,
yes.
Sure.
There wasn't a lot of structure there either in the mainstream scheme of things when you want to have hit records. So let's get back to hits. Yeah. How fast can you get to the chorus? Because you're dealing with a lot of people before the listener and the consumer gets to it. You're dealing with your publisher. You're dealing with your record label. You're dealing with all of your radio guys, your promotion staff that's got to like it to take to radio. Then you're dealing with the radio guys. And then you finally, after all of this, and even distribution. You go play for them. Everybody's seen it but the consumer, and heard it but the consumer. So when the consumer finally hears it, all the consumer does is just listen with their heart. And Mike, what do you say? Listen with the ear of your
With
heart.
the ear of your heart. Yep.
And that's what we do as listeners. I still do that as a listener when I hear other songs. I don't break it down and dissect it like I'm writing the song. I just either love it or hate it. So that ability for me as a listener hasn't left, even though I understand the structure. And maybe because when I hear songs that knock you out, the structure's there and you sort of just don't have to think about it. But those things lead to great success and lead to longevity in careers, not only for the artist, but the songwriter, for their families, a lot of people, for the tour bus driver, for his family, for the guys on the crew, for the band, for the promoter, for his family, for the people that are running the concert venue, for the people selling concessions. So you think about what one song can do for so many.
Yes.
That's a pretty cool thing.
Well,
So
especially
you're saying this
think about
structure is a part of the deal. Go ahead, Mike. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
think about your song. I don't have to be me till Monday. And what that song has done for all the people that have been involved with it. Even to this day with Pearl River Resort.
Oh yeah, I mean they've been such a great partner. I realized with the way they broke the song's lyrics down, how they were able to make campaigns based off of just one line at a time, and how they've been able to hang their hat on all of that. So they've taken one line from each song and turned it into an entire campaign. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And they've done this multiple times. So I see it on billboards. I see it in TV commercials that have won national telly awards. So it's not the best of. So it's mostly regional, a lot of telly awards. But when you win the best of with one category, I think it was Be Who You Want to Be. I can do what I want to do, be who I want to be. It was just taking that line and turning it into entire TV campaign, social media campaign, commercials. It got so big and effective that it did that. That song, when I saw the name "I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday" on a yacht, I knew that I'd arrived. And I knew that we talked about this on our previous podcast, wanting to change. Everybody wanted, some people wanted to change the name, whose opinions were very valid. At the end, we never did. And I always believed in my heart that it needed to be the whole name. The whole name. And now I've got a Bloody Mary mix, right? With "I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday." And my partner, Chef David Cruz, goes, "Maybe we should do Till Monday." And I went, "Oh my gosh, this is the funniest thing. I've gone through this with the song." And then when I told him I saw it on a yacht and it was the whole word, he goes, "Enough said." So
Well,
it's just interesting.
and it's
But
interesting too, the way Pearl River has taken those lines, because again, we talk about structure as strategy. And so
Mhm.
Randy, talk a little bit about, kind of using that type of thing from a strategic standpoint. How can leaders use that? How can businesses use that from a structure standpoint?
Yeah, a big question, and I think the first thing to understand is that structure is the way you invite people into whatever it is you're going to do. Structure is kind of like a staircase. So you want to get them up there, but you have to take them step by step by step to get them there. And so you need to build that staircase. And so the hook is what is the invitation. It's the yes, come in. Yes, you're the right person to be talking to us. And then you're going to build from there. This business of structure is really, if you think about food, when you go to the menu of a restaurant is speaking to structure. Oh, here are appetizers. This is what you should have first. And then, if you want a salad, and then here's your main course and your second course and so forth. So structure is something that is the way humans manage their experiences. And it's certainly important at work. So there needs to be a sense of structure. What does that look like in a workplace? It typically looks like you'll hear people talking about, well, we actually did a whole podcast on the rhythm of the work
Right.
concept. And so you'll see that happening. But really, a simple way to talk about this now would be to say the phases are a really good way to start. So if we have a strategic plan that says we're going to be 10 times the size we are in 10 years, what is the first phase? What do we have to do first? And what are the performance indicators that suggest we're ready to move on to the second phase? And the company McKinsey has produced a fairly famous structure called the 3 horizons model. And so in the first horizon, the goal is between now and say a year or 18 months. And we're going to basically only take advantage of the stuff we've got. We've got to make as much hay as we can with what we have, in our hands, with the band we've got, with the songs we have. We've got to churn those as best we can. Second horizon It's about, okay, how can we do more with what we've got? How can we expand out of what we've got? And then the third horizon is this long-term horizon of where we really trying to go. What's the ultimate goal there? And one of the strategy people that I know, a client who says the way we framed it now, our structure is our strategy now and our strategy next. So they see it as being so dynamic that they're just kind of chunking back and forth. And so when they go into the conversation, it's like, oh, this is a now strategy, that's a next strategy. And just that simple thing is a way to really create more dynamics in the discourse and to make it really land and work, you know? So I guess the big takeaway for me at the top of this is, if you have structure and the structure is known by everyone, you create confidence. You create a sense of awareness. I can anticipate what's coming next. Oh, I know what has to be done before we can go to the next stage. I'd spent a lot of time in martial arts with my family. We spent probably 10 years doing Taekwondo together, and the belts matter, you know? So you're a white belt. What's it going to take to get to that yellow belt? Well, I've got to be able to do these 16 things to get to that yellow belt. And that sense of progression works all the time. Any athlete is going to have that same sense of structure and progression. Every football play has a sense of structure. So all you have to do is sort of get your mind around this, and you're going to start seeing structure pop up everywhere. That's a mastery thing.
Which leads to a lot of times result. And when you see
Yes.
the result, then you're even more in to keep getting the next belt, right?
Yes.
That's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you in the game, so to speak. You know, by the time this podcast is over, I'm never going to see a song the same. I just want y'all to know that. Mike, I know Mike's about to throw something at me right now that's really going to make me want to get on the couch.
Well, we talk about that structure. You know, Benedict wrote his rule to create structure. It's this blueprint of how we live and work in community. And we've talked a little bit about this in the podcast on rhythm and flow, but the structure was really meant so that the monks would have this structure, that would do the same thing, pray the same prayers, eat at the same time, work at the same time, all of those kinds of things, so that they did those things kind of on autopilot, which allowed them to focus on the bigger thing, which was the salvation of their soul, which was really the idea of that focusing on Christ and focusing on getting to heaven. And all of that structure was built within it so that they could do that in that fashion. And so everything that comes out of the rule really looks at this idea of how do we create that structure so that people aren't going off the rails, totally chasing something different than what we from a leadership perspective, are we creating something? Are we creating a structure that allows people to focus on what's, Stephen Covey talks about, focusing, I think first things first or whatever. I don't remember exactly what he says, but that idea of really making sure that we're focused on the right thing, and structure allows you to do that.
Hey, so let me ask Randy a question. So there's been plenty of times and situations where courses they didn't hold up. And a lot of the times those songs, I got to tell you, they just went away because you couldn't get there. If you can't have that epiphany, right? That's the place. That's the pinnacle. That monument that sits on your song, then you got nothing. But there was a situation with my song Flatlands, which was debuted at the Delta Blues Festival when I was younger. Albert King was hanging out on stage, sitting on a chair over there. Great Son Thomas was with me. And I had to do Stevie Ray Vaughan's tribute when he had just passed in the helicopter crash. And Stevie Ray had played the Delta Blues Festival a couple times, and Albert and Stevie Ray were good friends. And so I did Pride and Joy, of course, but then they asked me to do one of my songs, and I played the song Flatlands. That was, I had a song chorus and da-da-da-da. Well, I got to Nashville, could have rewrote it with the great Roger Murrah, who was one of my publishers along the way. And Roger was actually songwriter of the decade. How about that? He also was with Waylon Jennings. Waylon called Roger to write his entire autobiography record. So that was Roger Murrah. Okay, so Roger, I thought, knew everything, and everything was right. He was great. He's still a great man. So he hung the moon in a lot of ways for me. But we came in and wrote another course, and even with Roger, I remember him asking me, going like, "What happened to the course?" Well, what happened was, when we started playing it, and when I had the right guys on stage, and we started playing this song, and we got rid of the chorus and turned it into a jam thing, but that was pretty long, but a song without a chorus When I did the Bob Seger tour, when I did the Grand Ole Opry, when I did whatever, it was a little bit off the beaten path for the Grand Ole Opry. I got great stories about Porter Wagner getting upset and all that, but the whole place was on their feet. This song, even Bob's band, the Silver Bullet Band, a lot of them would come out and watch us do that song. And he said it got them ready for the show. So they were backstage and there was an energy to it. We played it at Rising Tide when the
I love the song. Yeah.
Rising,
great
not
song.
Rising. Anyway, well, long story short, we played a lot of big time things for me and for us and all that, every arena practically in the country. And the response has always been the same and the feeling we have, but we got rid of the chorus. So Mike or Randy, whichever, you guys tell me, have you guys ever been in a situation where you've had to rewrite the course of a business? That means probably, I would imagine in the business plan, could it be considered its higher purpose, Mike? And if, how are you going to rewrite that? And second, or at least a limb off a limb of the tree off the nucleus, right, of the higher purpose. And then if so, have you ever gotten rid of that, started over, or even had a situation where you didn't need a course for a business plan to work?
Sure.
Take it away, Mike.
Yeah, I think, and I'll turn it to you in a second, Randy. But I think one of the things that you have to look at is if you have a business or an organization where the structure is broke, where the structure just isn't working, depending on who the leader is, depending on what the higher purpose vision is. I've been in lots of businesses and organizations where you have to look at it and say, we might have to cut this thing down all the way to the bottom and start over with structure, because the structure that we have right now is not, and you guys have heard me say this before, I don't use the word culture, I use the word community. I think community goes deeper, and I think when structure doesn't support community, then we've got to really step back and look at, okay, we need to redo the structure. Very similar with one of your songs, Steve, if the chorus doesn't work, you got to redo the song, or it goes by the wayside.
You toss it.
Yeah, and so I think you see the same thing in an organization where if the structure is messed up and the structure doesn't support the vision that we're trying to achieve, then we got to go back and say, okay, maybe it's time to rewrite the structure, and I'm sure, Randy, you've been in many of those situations.
Yeah, I think the first thing that came to mind, Steve, was and I've been in this game almost constantly for the last 4 or 5 years, where you see organizations realizing we are no longer differentiating ourselves in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
So maybe we have a chorus that just says woo, 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 and it's kind of got a hook to it and it's very nice, but it does not differentiate.
And you woo, woo, woo. So Jeffrey Osborne, I couldn't help it.
That's right.
That worked, by the way.
So differentiation becomes a big part of strategic success. And so what I've been seeing a lot is organizations that finally hit some kind of a crucible or rock in the road where they can't go any further, or they don't feel like they can go further unless they change their brand. And so when you see this kind of brand upgrade thing happening, where they're maybe changing the name of the organization entirely, or maybe they're changing the art that goes along with it or so forth, those kinds of things should reflect, to Mike's point, the whole community engagement that is being desired on the inside of the company, as well as the community of customers that you're trying to attract on the outside of the company. So I think this business of brand changes is very much like I would equate chorus with brand, because that's the thing that's, you see that McDonald's sign or you see that thing and it's like, oh yeah, I get that brand. I understand it. And so it's familiar. I can bring it up. And so when you introduce a new brand, you got a lot of work to do, because nobody is going to like the change. Yeah. I can guarantee you, no matter what you've changed it to, people aren't going to go, oh, that's a great idea. I remember the first time I heard the word Amazon as a company, I thought that's the stupidest name for, why would you do that? Why would you pick a river in South America that's kind of swampy and full of dangerous things? But, of course, I don't know. I've learned over the years, I don't know squat about this.
Books. It was a book company, right?
Oh, yeah. If I like it, it's terrible. Yeah. That's what I figured out. Yeah. And if I look at it and I hate it, it's going to work really, really well. That's that's the reality of it.
The other thing that I would say too regarding the structure idea is that, and in fact, I'm working with a couple of clients through this process right now. A lot of companies and organizations have become so metric driven.
Yes.
They're using systems like EOS or Scaling Up or some of the other ones that are out there, and everything is driven by metrics. And they get to the point where all of a sudden the metrics don't mean much. And then I get called in to say, well, why aren't the metrics working? And I said, because the metrics aren't going to work unless your people are in alignment with it. And unless your people are aligned with whatever that higher purpose vision is.
Yeah.
Then you have to change the metrics. Again, it's really looking at that idea of how are you focusing on your people versus how are you focusing on the metrics. And structures have to change in order for that to happen. In order to build community, in order to build engagement within your organization, focus on your people. Don't focus on the metrics.
That reminds me of sports. You think about a great play that happens, and it's you can't defend it, and because all 11 players have done their job,
Yep.
right? And that's the truth. So anytime everybody on one side of the ball does their job, no matter what sport it is, then they see success. That's what happens. And you hear these great coaches like Saban and them talk about it all the time. Do your job.
Right.
And there's a end result, and that's 7 points, 6.7. So let me ask you this. What happens? So I say you throw the song away. You put the song away for a while. A lot of times you come back to it years later. Okay, so what happens? And then you go, oh my gosh, there's that chorus for that song. Okay, and I've had friends I've seen hits happen this way.
Yeah,
okay,
sure. Yeah.
So when you're a company, can you go back that far into your arsenal of tricks and your game plan that was something so far in the rear view mirror that you can barely see it or you can't see it at all, and get your team, your employees, everybody on board with that vision to rebrand from the past, that you go, oh, there was the answer from the past. We've got it now. How difficult is that to go back and make that?
It's marvelous if you can pull it off. It's an amazingly beautiful thing. Real quick story. I'm working with a client right now who's based out of Detroit, and they're a credit union, and they were credit unions were formed around companies back in the day. And this was the credit union for the Daisy Air Rifle Company.
We all had them.
Who didn't have a Daisy Air Rifle?
Yeah. Don't shoot your eye out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were a thing. They were huge. They were everywhere. Well, guess what? The Daisy Air Rifle Company closed. And so this credit union had to go out and be a community credit union. But now, and they're reaching their 75th anniversary next year. And what they've done is they've gone back into that and they've pulled the branding elements. There was a bear on the box, and the name of the bear was Daisy. And so that bear is now going to be a centerpiece of their brand as they've changed their brand, and they're going to go back out to the community. So they've literally pulled this bear out, and the bear the bear design is beautiful. They've done an amazing job with it. But yeah, they've done this business of connecting to the past, bringing it into the future, and taking it forward. And when you can do that artfully, it is a really wonderful thing to do. But I think that the point that you're making is really a good one. And that is to say, when you stumble across that good idea, which often happens in the shower or late at night or on a cocktail napkin, I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
What you want to do is write that. You've got a whole closet full of cocktail napkins with brilliant ideas on them, I'm sure. Yeah. And you're going to be writing a new book coming out of all of those cocktail napkins.
I actually wrote a book a long time ago called Business Planning on a Bar Napkin. So
there you go.
You can get it on my website.
What a shock that is, Randy. Is that a shock? Not a shock.
Not a shock. No. But the idea, though, is, when you have those ideas, like all the ideas in your head, they're there for just a second and then they're gone. Right. But if you find that one that's like, wow, that's really interesting, and you're not even sure why, I think it's super important to write it down. And now we've got these wonderful devices that we carry around all the time that can capture those things. And I cannot tell you how many times I've gone back and looked at my list of just general crap I've written over the year. And I was like, oh, that's still a good idea. I should pull that one forward. So I think these little nuggets are worth it. They're good, just not sure how they're going to fit right now.
Right. And we talk about something. I want to beat this horse to death for sure. Pardon the pun. Not Starbucks, Cracker Barrel.
Oh yeah.
Logo, part of a logo is part of the brand. Where in the song does that sit? Is it part of the chorus? Is it a line in the chorus? And then what do you think went on for them to decide to try to change their logo and change sort of the layout of the place? And why do you think people revolted? Like they just went crazy. So, and then by the way, I'm still seeing that logo in a lot of places. I feel like they've slipped the logo that they changed back in the brand. I'm not seeing is it Uncle Herschel was his name? Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'm seeing the rebrand a lot of places in a lot of commercials and a lot of current ads, and nobody's saying anything. But first of all, what is a logo as far in the song? What is it? Where is it set?
Well, I think that what the logo is doing is it's giving you that. Okay, we ready for a big word?
Yeah.
I'm going to apologize in advance for this word, non-discursive. And what that means is that there's logo is the part where there's no words. The word might be McDonald's might be written on it somewhere, but it is the logo, which is a piece of art, which has color and style and is it differentiating and so forth. So I think the place that the logo shows up is in the uniqueness and consumability, the fulfillment of looking at a logo. Like when I get an Apple product in the mail or I see it, it's just packaged so beautifully. The brand shows up so completely that I have this experience. I'm excited to open the box. And so the logo needs to be this kind of, here's the way the philosophers would say it. It is both the creation and fulfillment of an appetite.
Nice. Okay, I see that.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what the chorus should do too. This is what Taylor Swift can do drunk and blindfold, as far as I can tell. Every time I hear one of her songs, I'm like, well, God dang, that's good.
Yeah.
Because even if I don't like the song, I'm like, but that's a good song because I can't get it out of my head for the next 30 minutes.
What happens when a logo like Nike overwhelms anything else in their brand? Like it's so big, you see it coming. Right. That's all you got to do is swoop, right? So what happens? I guess that's what you crave and what you strive for, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I think the other, and Randy, you make a great point. It's not just the design, it's the fulfillment. I mean, yes. You talk about Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel probably could have got away with just changing the logo, but what they tried to do is change the fulfillment as well. They changed the layout of the restaurants. They changed they changed all of that. When you upset the apple cart like that and change the fulfillment, that's when you get the revolt, and so you have to really be intentional about how you not only create the art piece of that, the logo, but how that art piece of it connects to the fulfillment. And
that's right.
So important, because you can have the greatest logo in the world, but if you can't fulfill that greatest logo, it's not gonna help you with your business.
It's funny. It reminds me of a lot of remakes of records, or when artists on stage decide they don't like the way they sang it on the record, but the record was a big hit, and you go see them live and they've changed 10 melodies in one song, and they're rebranding, and guess what? The audience does not want to hear that.
That's exactly
they want to hear what they fell in love with, and that's it.
Yep.
So that brings up a lot. So that can happen on stage. It can happen with songs, and obviously happen in businesses. Where does a company go in their minds when things are really going well, and do they get bored with the success, or do they see something potentially not working out down the road? Are they forecasting in a way?
Yeah. Typically you're seeing, they're getting analytics, right? They're getting all this data, and the data is saying, oh, you're crushing it with this particular audience, but you know what? This audience is aging out, or this audience is no longer buying the products that we think that they want.
Right.
So I think the point though that you're getting to, and I'm going to lay this on you, this is one of the things that I will say you can take this one to the bank. And this comes from an author who's now passed, named Eliyahu Goldratt. He wrote a book called The Goal back in the days, an Israeli engineer. But anyway, one of the things he said that really stuck with me was improvements are always a change, but changes are not always improvements.
There you go.
Wow. Man.
And that is a big one. Improvements are always a change, but changes are not always improvements. So you want to get an organization upset, come in and say, we've just hired a guy and he's going to really shake things up. He's going to be improving our accountability. He's going to be improving our accounting and our marketing. Improvements are going to happen everywhere. People are going to be pissed off from the get-go. That guy's going to walk into the office and they're going to just give him the cold shoulder, because everybody knows he's going to start moving the cheese around, and it's just going to do nothing but get everybody upset.
All right.
So changes are tough.
You gotta give us that one again, because that would be a resonance nugget that you just laid out.
Improvements are always a change, but changes are not always improvements.
So
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to improve something, you're going to change it.
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
not
look, I
gonna
made it better.
you're not going to hear another podcast anywhere where you get a book from
But you're not. That reminds me of great song lines that are hooks within a song. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know back then.
There
Right?
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who was that? Brilliant. I mean,
Yes.
you'd think you'd be saying, "I wish I didn't know now," or "I wish I knew now what I didn't know." But he didn't want to know. It's both. So, am I saying that right? I wish
I know what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
close enough.
didn't
We'll call Bob. Let's get him
Yeah.
on the phone.
It didn't and didn't. But the bottom line is there are hooks within songs that are not the choruses. So
Yes.
when you can have that, and it could be a musical hook, it can be a line in a song that repeats, or but that is equally as big and as important in the song as the chorus. So
That's
let's
right.
talk a little bit about business. So what's equally as important that could stand on its own? I'm not talking about being part of. You talked about the bridge. We want to get into that in a minute. The bridge bridges the song together. It's the bridge between states. It's the bridge between you and the love of your life. I mean, we love bridges in life, but with that said, is that when you've got a hook in a song that's not the chorus, that is equally potent and matters that much and could stand alone on its own, where does that sit in the role of a company?
Well, I'll take a crack at it. I'd say that if you've got sort of hooks inside of hooks,
Yeah.
Right.
that's great. That's an amazing thing. And I think particularly to the degree that you create surprise and delight as a result of it. I mean, I think that Disney is the first company that comes to mind that really does this pretty well, where you go to see whatever it is you go to see or to take your kids, but then all of a sudden you see they've really thought a lot about the parents' experience there.
Yeah, I
And
agree
they've
with you.
really thought a lot about this or that experience, or the bathrooms are always clean, or all those other little things that are the Disney brand shows up in the bathroom, even though they could have very easily, like many companies, just said, oh, that's not the way it works. I sat next to a guy who was an executive for Five Guys Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he was involved in meetings early on with the company where they decided that they were going to spend less on marketing and more on having somebody constantly cleaning the dining area. And I don't eat there I've understood this to be true.
Peanuts on the floor.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's somebody with a broom all the time, right?
Always.
Right.
All the time. And so what they figured out was that was one of those little pieces that people really appreciated, that was an aha moment from some of the early Five Guys pieces. They said, well, let's just bake that in. And so they're not going to talk about that in the ad, but when you get there, you're going to go, that really is aligned with the brand. This makes a whole lot of sense.
Get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
I
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was going to say this real quick. Well, no, you go ahead, Mike, because I know the story behind Five Guys, because the great Mark Mosley, who played for the Washington Redskins, is an old friend, and he was one of the beginning guys in that deal, and that's how it all happened. So I'll tell you that story in a second. That was really interesting.
Yeah, I talk about profound hospitality, and we've had lots of conversations about that. The hook within the hook is the brand, fulfilling the brand, and then taking fulfillment to the next level,
Yes.
which is profound hospitality. When we talk about Disney, when we talk about Five Guys,
It's like pole vaulting.
it is. I mean, it really launches you to a much higher level, because now you begin to create what Ken Blanchard calls raving fans. They're not just customers, and they're not just happy customers. They're raving fans. Now they begin to talk about you always, everywhere. And that's the hook, I think, within the hook.
They're the ones that are there that go see Bob Seger 4 straight nights in the Palace.
Yeah.
And they want to hear the exact same set, and they don't care what kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it's Jimmy Buffett's parrot heads,
Yeah, exactly. If they were in Oregon right now, if the Grateful Dead was right there and Jerry Garcia came back to life, where would you be if they put 50 straight shows on? Would you go 50 straight shows?
I'd be talking to my wife first and saying, this is going to be rough, but I think we can, if we trained.
Oh no, the folks that you represent. Hey guys, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Jerry, we've got a reincarnation, and I've got to be at the next 50 shows.
I got my dancing bears on.
There you go.
Okay, so Five Guys, back up for a second. I wonder if they decided to clean the floor all the time. Was it based off the fact when you go in there, you get those shell peanuts and you get to eat peanuts?
Yep.
Well, there's going to be some mess on the floors. So either way, I can say this: Phil Vassar, really great singer-songwriter from Nashville, big hits, etc. Buddy of mine, he was one of the original investors in Five Guys in Nashville. But Mark Mosley, I think Mark ended up being the MVP one year of the NFL, and he was a kicker, right? But I think he also played quarter. He did a little bit of everything. Told me at my charity event here, he goes, "This was when Five Guys was just a thought." So the sons of a friend of Mark's had started this Five Guys restaurant in DC area. And they came to him and they said, "You're the only one that can talk him into franchising." And he goes, "I don't know anything about the burger business." So he talked to his wife, Mark did, and he prayed over it. He said he prayed over it. And then he went and studied and learned. And then he was going, okay, this actually could be something. So he could go have this conversation that the sons wanted him to have, but he wasn't prepared yet internally, spiritually, or wanted to do it, first of all, and be happy doing it. And second of all, have the knowledge to be in the burger business or restaurant business. Anyway, long story short, look at it now. And it's become a really popular chain. It's really good. A lot of calories.
Oh, yeah.
So you got
Great cheeseburger.
calories. Good, man. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. But to hear that backstory about how he prepared to go talk to the dad, who was his buddy, for their sons, it's pretty interesting. You know?
It is interesting.
Interesting.
That's the way real business happens, though.
Yeah.
I think I can squeeze this into a little bit of a more graspable chunk for us.
All right.
You were talking about a good song is 3.5 minutes, right? And so that time length becomes important. The same thing is true when you go hear a speaker and the speaker starts talking and you have no idea where the speaker's going. You don't know what they're just starting to yammer and you're not sure, you're kind of lost. Maybe what they're saying is interesting, but you don't know where to put that information. And so really good speakers do a preview. And they say, first, I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about 3 things today. We're going to talk about, where this came from, what's going on right now, and what's going to look like in the future, whatever that is. That structure then becomes a contract with the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. Now I'm going to follow you, and you better follow that.
Yeah.
And as long as you do, the audience is going to be just fine with that. But here we can take that and squeeze it just a little bit more. I like to use that 3-point structure, which came originally, it was discussed originally by Cicero, I think. But anyway, the idea is you can take that and use it at a lunch conversation. So let's say I'm being interviewed for a job. I go to lunch with somebody and they say to me, so Randy, why do you think you're the right person for this job? And I might say, well, I've really loved this industry for a long time. I've been studying it kind of from the background a little bit, and it's pretty good. A little bit I've done, I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And, I think the company's going to grow. And it's like blah, 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 right? The guy's rolling his eyes and drinking his iced tea. Or I could say, Randy, why do you think you're the best person for this job? And I might go, I think there's 3 reasons: my background, my capabilities, and where I think this company is going and where I want to go. So let's talk about my background. Now we're going to talk about my capabilities. Now, so just, you can use that 3-point structure in a conversation.
Wow.
I will tell you, this does not work in an argument with your spouse. When say, I think there's 3 reasons you screwed up deeply here.
Yeah, because if you were having an argument with your spouse, at some point you're going to go, there's 3 things that you would say. Honey, you're right. Honey, you're right. Honey,
Yeah,
you're right.
exactly.
Honey, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hey, let me first of all, let me back up when you said good song, a hit song on commercial radio, the
Right.
3 minutes. And
Good point.
Second of all, you think about the exception to the rule, which is Freebird, which is American Pie, which took up the length of 2 songs. So
Right.
they really have
Inagata Davida.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
But you know what? They added all these elements of songs. What was the great Meatloaf song? Let me think on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Paradise by
Right.
the dashboard light.
Paradise by the dashboard light.
All-
Exactly.
That was like a movie, right? So, or watching theater, really.
Yeah.
So those songs are exceptions to the rules because they keep evolving and they keep becoming something different, something else. Okay, so back up for a second. But the 3.5-minute song, you have to figure out how to consolidate all of these thoughts. And you've got to put the right 3.5, every if, and but's got to be landing in the right spot to become a classic. That means there was no alternative for anything in the body of that work.
That's
And
right.
sort of how we feel, you cannot get anything wrong. And
No
I could
waste.
be rating a little bit, but I'm talking about classic hits.
Sure.
Every single word, every syllable, how it's said, how it's phrased, I don't think can be replaced.
Yes.
And that's when the magic happens. And think about it, you got to consolidate it in this window, time frame. So in business, are y'all looking at time frames for success?
Oh, sure.
And then at what point do you cross when the game's ended and you're still playing? Do you realize there's going to be no result, or how much into overtime can you go?
Well, I mean, some of it depends on obviously what you're trying to accomplish, but I think
Because
that,
time is money, you know?
yeah, yeah, and again, I mean, I've seen lots of businesses stretch this out to the point where it becomes completely ineffective. And I think that's the key is to making sure that if you're going to go overtime, making sure you have a way to understand, is it effective? Is what
Mhm.
we're doing to go to overtime effective? And I think that's the most important aspect is
I saw a guy do a speech
when it
here.
no longer is effective.
Yeah.
I saw a dude do a speech, and he was talking about making toilet paper. No joke. And it was a lunchtime presentation for a group of business people here in
That
Oregon.
in it.
And he says, it's a big paper mill kind of group, right? And he says, so today I'm going to talk about making toilet paper. And it's a very interesting process. And it's got 11 steps I'm going to walk you through. And you could just feel everybody in the audience go, oh my God. And then the guy walks over to the front of the stage and he picks up a poster board that was laying on the floor and he holds it up and it's a picture of a tree. And he says, step 1, we don't use any trees. And he puts it down and then he goes to the next poster board, step 2. Okay, now we see, yes, there's 11 steps. He's breaking the rule. But what we now know is that each step is going to be about 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Now,
Right,
this is good stuff. This is good stuff. He's played with it. So you got to know the rule to break the rule, right? I think that's the key here.
Yeah.
And that's what those guys did very, very well. They knew they were producing a long song intentionally. And
Right.
there you go. Yeah.
And they knew that contradiction could work.
Yeah.
They understood
Exactly.
the idea that I can be contrarian here and it'll work in this particular situation.
Okay, I hate to break the news to both of you guys real quick. In y'all's business minds that are so brilliant how that works, but a lot of the magic comes from just doing it and feeling good. And
Oh,
in
yeah.
our work, so when we're
Well, we
feeling,
would love to be able to write a song. That's the thing. I mean,
yeah, so it's a feel good thing that turns into something special.
Which by the way is a great segue to just spend a minute or two to talk about how we might be able to help others do that. So
to write a song.
really
Oh, yeah,
talking about the idea that, if what we're talking about, whether it's this episode or any of our episodes, if any of it resonates with you, see how I'm tying that word in? If
Oh, brilliant.
any of it resonates with you, Steve and Randy and I would love to come help you with this. And we can do it in a one-day event. Steve will even come in and do a show for you the night before and all that kind of fun stuff. But what's really cool about that experience is not only are we going to help you through some of these things, but at the end of that experience, Steve, tell them a little bit about what they get to do.
Well, we're going to write a song together, and we're going to write a song that's going to be documented and you're going to have for a long time. But also that's going to be based off of everything that we went through. And you're going to learn vulnerability. You're going to learn, I got to tell you something. When you write a song together, you have no choice but to become closer in relationship wise. And so you guys are going to get to know each other within the company like you never knew each other before. That's the power of being a part of writing a song. And I think that it'll make, I believe personally that it will make the company stronger because the relationships will be stronger within the company. Make sense?
Wow. And it might be a hit.
I mean, these songs happened before,
We might be in the Grammys. I'm going to certainly wear dark glasses and
Yeah,
act cool.
You
Yeah.
come in Bigfoot and all that, but that's part of the whole deal.
If you're interested in that, you can go to resonanceleader.com. There's a contact button there. Just drop us a line and one of us will get back to you as quickly as we can and talk about what that might look like.
And we've seen him do it. It's doable.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Actually, Randy and I
Also-
went through this process with Steve in Mississippi back 3 months ago, and it's a really cool process. So,
Well, we all go do our own speeches and you guys go off and consult and you do all your own speeches and all that. Randy and I have done one wonderful event for the Alabama Credit Union before COVID, and we were about to rock and roll, I think.
Yeah.
But the truth is the three of us together, I feel like we pretty much cover it all, and we'll have a lot of fun together. But I think there'll be plenty of result.
Outstanding.
Yep.
Good episode, friend.
Resonance. Yeah, take us home, Randy.
Well, this was a big one. I'm a big structure fan, so we talked about a number of things. Think about what your chorus is. Think about what is that hook. Think about how you invite people in. Think about that chorus as both the creation and fulfillment of an appetite. Remember that improvements are always changes, but changes aren't always improvements. So anytime you're going to change anything, you're going to get people upset, and just get used to that. That's going to be the way it is. And then finally, you can bring this idea of structure into every single conversation you've got. And you'll start seeing it everywhere when you start seeing it. To Steve's earlier point,
yeah.
I'm going to look at music differently now that we have this idea of structure. Powerful stuff, as always. Thanks to the Benedictines. They're helping us keep the keel here.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that, Randy, but I'm glad you decided to do it. You can check us out on resonanceleader.com, and that way it'll take you to all the streaming platforms. We're on YouTube as well. Like it, give us a thumbs up, and we appreciate you guys listening to us. We're having a blast.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Oh.
Thanks for listening to Resonance. Find us at resonanceleader.com.